Kostantinos Kotsonis. So I've met all this crazy gang, most of them in Denmark, 2017. Ted Carr, Lisa, Doug Graham, Rosalind, Grant, everyone, basically. I've been traveling in Asia for 2 years prior to that, since 2015. So I met the rest of the gang there. And yeah, it's been amazing. It's been absolutely a blessing to being along this tribe. And the most beautiful part from meeting them is that I was able to start my project, Higher Self Manifesto, and interview them and be able to share their insights with the rest of the world. And that was beautiful. So yeah, as you said, so I specialized on binge eating. My mentor and friend is Dr. Glenn Livingston, which I absolutely adore. He's absolutely amazing. He's super inspiring, and he taught me so many things. And I've worked next to him for the last 2 years. And I met him the same way in Sidro Woolley in Food and Sport Retreats. I met him there, I interviewed him, and then I saw his work. I got certified by him as a life coach in 2017, and then as a Never Binge Again coach. And now I'm a Never Binge Again master coach, and I've helped around 200 people already. I'm considered blessed to be around this community. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you, Ronnie.
Is the Zoom okay? Can you make sure that you're unmuted on Zoom? Sorry about that.
Which one I'm gonna mute?
There you go. There you go. That's fine.
All right, let me. All right, because Zoom was down all this time. Okay. So basically, yeah, I got my training, 2 years of culinary art training. I was in the arm cook before that point, and in 2010 I finished my culinary arts training and my practice because I was working at the same time. And I was working a lot of hours. I didn't really care about nutrition at that point. And I'm very sad to say this, but in the culinary arts training that I got, which was considered the best in Greece and very expensive as well, was everybody was focusing on presentation and on taste. Nobody was really was focusing on nobody cared about nutrition, right? So 2 years later, I was experiencing a lot of autoimmune system allergies, skin conditions, a lot of stuff. And at the time, I wasn't even vegan, right? And not only that, but I was also hunting, I was spear fishing, right? I was doing everything. I was extreme, and I specialized in meat preparation, right? So I was basically in the butcher area of the catering businesses I was working on. I was working everywhere, but that was my specialization, right? A standard routine for me was like to prepare 40 to 80 piglets every Monday, for example, right? 20 to 24 kilos, like around 50 pounds,
Oh my God.
and put them in the oven and everything. Yes. Even though, I was finding squirrels in the middle of the road, and in Greece, they're not very common. Like we have them mostly as a pet, or at least we had them. And so I was hosting, dogs, cats, turtles, everything. I was considering myself to be like, I love animals. So I started watching videos on YouTube. And at the time, I wanted to start cycling again. And I met a crazy guy called Harley, Duran Rider. And this guy was start talking about, hey, you should drink water, you should eat more carbs, you should do this and this and this. And he was a little bit funny with, I liked his humor. And so I continued watching him on YouTube. I think it was from 2010 until 2012, this thing. And in every single video, he used to say something like, yes, by the way, you should go vegan. And I was like, yeah, this guy's crazy, absolutely nuts. There's no way I will go vegan. Who, me? Because my whole life was around, meat preparation and hunting and all this stuff. And I mean, I was fishing with my father before I even woke. All right. So that was the vehicle that my father communicated love to me, taking me with him to fishing trips and stuff. So it was really ingrained. And long story short, one of the things that Durian Ryder said that one of his videos says, you know what? The least you have to do is to watch the slaughterhouse videos. I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm in this industry like so deep that ethically I need to know what's going on, right? So I started watching all these videos and I watched all of them. Like I remember at the time there were around 30 around. I watched every single one I could put my hands on it. Earthlings, of course, everything. So I watched everything. I didn't really show everything. And then I saw there was a mother pig, and this set up in a slaughterhouse, and I saw her eye, and it clicked. Basically, it clicked. After
Yeah.
hours of footage, I saw one eye, and one eye really made the connection for me. And I didn't really believe that veganism was healthy at the time. I thought I was going to die or something, right? But it made such a big impact that I came back to that kitchen and I saw the pigs again that I was about to prepare, and I was like, oh wow. And then I started realizing that the pigs that were brought up in one of Europe's most high standards industries like slaughterhouses and stuff, they were bruised, and Instagram fall down. I don't know what happened. I'm not sure if I'm on Instagram still. All right, so
Yeah. It just, I've just stopped it because it wasn't working. Yeah.
it wasn't good. Okay. All right. So yeah. So basically, I saw this footage, and then I went raw vegan immediately for 6 months straight, and I lost around 100 pounds. Um, my skin conditions healed up. Like I stopped having candida. I stopped having a lot of crazy stuff. Uh, but something else happened as well. I had to change my life completely because I was now seeing things in a completely different way. So I changed my profession, right? I quit my job. I had
Yeah.
to break up with the girl that I was with, and we had like a 6-year relationship, and we're about to get married and all this beautiful stuff. Or at least this is where we thought we were gonna go. But suddenly my whole belief system changed. So I was like, oh, I need to reset. So I tried to go back to sailing. I became certified as a yacht master in Royal Yachting Association. Like I took the top qualifications in Greece again within 2 years, the next 2 years. I have to say, after these 6 months, I hit a wall because I had to change my life so much. So I went back to eating meat, but instead of eating like 3 times a day, I ate once a week, once a month. And I had to quit my job. I had to reestablish, who I was, right? And I said, you know what? I cannot do that now, but I will become vegan. So I made it a goal to become vegan one day. So 2 years later, 2015, as New Year's resolution, I said, you know what? That's it. And that was from me. In May 2015, I started traveling, and I met the first vegan in person, right? In the Thai fruit and bike festival there in Chiang Mai. So I continued traveling for around 16 months. I met 500 vegans in 1 month. And, I realized that I wasn't the crazy one. And that was really comforting, that was really helpful. And that's it pretty much from that point on. I continued to travel. I came back. I met my girlfriend at the time, wife now I'm a father. I live in the UK for the last two and a half years almost, with my wife and kid. And I help people defeat their food cravings and follow their eating behaviors that they think they should follow, right? I don't identify as raw vegan, but pretty much everything I eat is raw vegan, right?
Awesome.
I love eating raw. I eat at least a massive salad and a massive smoothie every day. Right? And that's pretty much it.
So let's talk about binge eating then, because that's what you seem to focus on and specialize in. From the start, what is it that causes people to binge on food?
All right. The biggest one that we need to understand is that we have some survival mechanisms that the food industry, and advertisement industry and pharmaceutical industry and everything everything around money that targets us. They are trying to target those ingrained survival mechanisms, right? So we are designed to eat. We are designed to seek for taste, right? And seek for colors and all of this. So basically, this resulted into the food industry taking the money off the actual food and putting it in the packets, right? So the cardboard resulted to be more nutritious than the actual food that we're eating, right? But they made it super palatable, highly concentrated in sugar and fat. So it triggers a response that biologically we think it's good, right? And because we don't take the nutrition that we are seeking due to this stimuli, right? The taste and the senses, basically, we want more. So you cannot get enough of binge food, basically, of fast food. Because it's not designed to satisfy you. It's designed to make you buy more, to make you come back for seconds and thirds and fourths, right? So starting from that is not really our fault. However, we need to take responsibility after we realize that it's not our fault and we have a whole industry designed to, trick our senses and our survival instincts. We need to take responsibility and say, all right, now that I know it's not my fault, it is my responsibility to actually do something about it. And the beautiful thing is that we can do something about it because all the impulses and all the urges, they originate these survival urges, which we are here because of them, right? This is a beautiful survival mechanism that we are, it was super viable in the past. But right now, we are living in an environment that we have so much food around that's acting against us. So we need to learn how to intercept that and how to take control of our food impulses and urges. And the way to do that is to understand first and foremost about our willpower, right? The willpower, most people think is like either you have it, either you don't have it. Most people think of it as on-off switch, right? But the reality is that willpower is more like a tank full of gas, right? So we are using willpower as we go through the day, and the way we use it is with decision making, right? So when we're taking every decision, or even worse, when we procrastinate on taking a decision that we know we need to take, then we are burning willpower. So that's really important to understand. And that really justifies why most of us used, or we still are, finding ourselves hanging the fridge towards the end of the day, right? Now, after we realize that, the beautiful part is that we can begin to train ourselves in an identity level to go against that urge, right? And the lizard brain is responsible for the urges and impulses. However, we have something much more powerful in our head, right? As humans, we have the frontal lobe, right? Which I consider the higher self, right? It's the logical brain, as Glenn Livingston says. This is really simplified, by the way, but I'm just gonna play with it because it's just the easiest way to really understand that. And when you learn how to leverage your frontal lobe, your logical brain, in order to take control of your food impulses, this is where it actually becomes doable, right? And manageable. And you learn all the tips and techniques. The most important part to realize that you have to eliminate as much of the decision-making process as you can from your life, because this is what is draining your willpower. So instead of having a guideline that says, I eat healthy 80% of the time, which was what with this guideline will do is like it will require you to take a decision every time you go through you pass a piece of chocolate, for example. You can start by saying, I will never again have chocolate Monday to Friday. So Monday you go past the chocolates, right? Or dairy or whatever is your thing, or sugar or anything, right? Depends everyone's level and goals, right? And you say, you know what? That's a piece of sugar or of chocolate, but it's irrelevant because it's Tuesday. And my rule says that I don't have chocolate on Tuesday. So you already made the decision.
It's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Glenn Livingston developed an amazing system, absolutely amazing system. Anyone who doesn't have the book already, please DM me on Instagram or Facebook, Higher Self Manifesto, and I will send you the book for free, of course. Just send me a message and I will send you the book so you understand the system. Basically, long story short, he identifies the lizard brain as a separate identity so you can detach from it and separate. And by separating from that identity, he likes to call his the pig. And this is why I loved his system so much, because I've already had my Higher Self Manifesto project. And he came and was talking about basically what it was, lower self and higher self. Right? So I interviewed him and then I saw him teaching. I was like, all right, perfect. I want to study this stuff. How can I do that? So after you get control, you realize that you can identify that part of you who wants chocolate, right? And the only thing that it wants its only goals as to eat, mate, and kill, survival, right? Then you separate it. Now, the most important thing here is to understand that this part of you, the survival, like the lizard brain,
Yep.
is not responsible for any inner child work. Is not responsible for love. Is not responsible for the aspirations you have, friendships, anything beautiful you're about to do. Is not responsible for that. Everything, all of these beautiful things are happening in the frontal lobe. So this is where most people are not really getting it, because they think that it's actually restrictive towards you, but it's not. It's actually freeing towards you, because you are protecting your willpower, and you are separating between your goals and your urges. And you say, okay, basically it's as simple as long-term goals and short-term goals. Short-term goals, to get to eat like 2 kilos of chocolate, to have like 2 pounds of sugar, and etc. Long-term goals, to actually build a family, to be the best version of myself, to serve the world, to meet new amazing people, to serve my community, to do charity, all these beautiful things, right? So this is the beautiful thing, is that all this work is changing who you are, from a person that eats chocolate to a person that doesn't eat chocolate. And this is where willpower doesn't matter anymore, because you've ingrained that behavior as a habit, as a characteristic of your character, basically, right? And you become a person who doesn't eat meat. You become a person who doesn't eat dairy. You become a person who doesn't eat cooked food, whatever your goal is. And that's freeing, because you don't have to think about it anymore. It becomes your comfort zone, right? So the same way as most of the people are already doing it. For example, if you walk into a restaurant and the waitress says, okay, sit down, please. And you sit on the table and she goes to bring you water or whatever. And you notice that there is a 20-pound, $20 tip on the table. And nobody's watching, Ronnie. Would you steal it?
No.
Why not?
Well, I think it's kind of what you're saying. Like, that's not, I don't see myself doing something like that.
Why not?
I think because of my upbringing, I'm not sure. I think I've been trained to be like that.
Like a thief. You're not a thief.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's exactly the same thing. You go through a piece of chocolate and you say, I'm not a person who eats chocolate.
But
I'm not a person who eats meat.
There might be some gray areas there, I would say. But yeah.
You define them. You
Right.
define them specifically. That's why you have to be extremely specific with your rules.
Right.
Right? And some people like to say, for example, they stop at, I don't eat animal products, right? Or they stop at, I don't eat flowers, or anything. But you notice that there is a pattern. Everybody is starting with, more fiber, more hydration, less sugar, less processed stuff. So basically everyone, without even saying, they're going towards whole foods, right? And more raw. So
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
You
please.
talked about like the lower brain as being the pig, and I guess it's like impulsive behaviors, like you're saying. So if you continually give in to the urges, does it control you more? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So biologically, we are designed to be able to overpower it, but it is a skill. It is a skill.
Right.
So if you don't train it, it's a muscle, basically. If you don't train that,
Right.
you're not going to lose it, but it's going to get tiny, 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 tiny. You see, some people, they have no control whatsoever of their impulses. Right?
Yep.
And you see other people that they have the magic pill or whatever. Right? So, of course, the rest of us are somewhere in there, but you can train it. It's a muscle. Just like you can learn a new language, but you're already doing it, right? You are not a thief. You're already doing it, right? You just have to use it on food.
Yep.
So you already have rules, in other way to say it, because some people say, no, I don't use rules, but you already are.
Yeah.
What are the
Absolutely.
chances of you walking the door and killing a child or whatever, right? I'm just
Right.
magnifying it, but exactly the same.
Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
it's, you can train yourself to see a piece of whatever, you define what is pig slop for you, right? And if you don't want it to call it a pig, it's I love calling it my lower self, right? You can call it whatever, junk, piece of
Yeah.
junk, whatever. Uh, you can use your own terminology on this, but the idea is the same. Trying to ingrain the habit so deep that it's part of your identity and becomes your new comfort zone.
And how long do you think that takes, and what are the steps to take to do that? And I guess what I want to ask is also, is it just all about action, or is it about, is there a mental part to this? Is there a way to train yourself to do this?
So the number one thing is to, there are three parts to this, all right? Three steps. The first step is to, and the most important is to realize where you want to go. Where are you going? What's the direction, right? The easiest way to do this is to close your eye, take deep breaths, and imagine yourself after 150 years, right? Whatever it's your number, that you've done everything you want to do with your life. You had your perfect life, and you imagine yourself in your funeral, basically, right? Two centuries from now. And you have all your loved ones, and you have all the beautiful human that you help and serve in your life. And imagine what they want, what you want them to say about you, right? What's your tombstone statement, ideally? This is the point where I had a massive change in my life, when I realized what was that for me. For me, it's like to basically live as a loving man who brings out the higher self in myself and others. And now every decision in my life, I take it towards that direction, right? Now, and
Yep.
that's why it makes all the decisions very easy, much easier, actually. Now, the same way you will say, all right, now I have to create, coming back to the system, now I have to create a rule that's going to take me towards that direction. And I understand that, taking care of myself is number one, because if I don't take care of myself, I can only love someone, but not serve them. And what is love anyway if you're not able to serve them? So you have to build up
Hmm.
yourself up to be able to give. Um, so the first step is to take care of yourself. So diet is crucial for me, right? And for, I don't want to say all the people I work with, but 99.9999% of the people. Uh, Diet is number one, right? Once you fix your diet, then you're feeling, oh, I can actually accomplish so much more. I've gained, with that simple tweak, I've gained 3 hours of productivity per day. I'm feeling like I can actually walk again. Wow, I can, I don't feel, I'm not irritated anymore. I can actually sleep better. I can, you feel like you have control of your life suddenly, right? It's like you're making up your bed in the morning. You feel like you've done something. It's a little bit more magnified with the diet. And then you can take it as far as you want, basically. But you build a rule as simple as possible, ideally. As simple as I will drink 1 glass of water the first thing I wake up. So you put a glass of water, you put it, next to your bedside, and the first thing you do, you drink that water, right? And it has to go something like this: I will never again leave my bed without drinking a glass of water, right? Or something that if you forget the water for whatever reason, you go and drink it immediately, the first 10 minutes after you woke up. So after you make it so simple and specific, and the key here is that many people try to go all in from the first day, and that's a mistake, because if you
Why?
overwhelm
Why?
yourself,
What? Yeah, sure. So I was going to ask you, why is that a mistake? Because I think I've heard people say they make a big change overnight, but I don't really believe I've seen many people do it.
yeah, so I've done that, and I fell into depression basically 6 months later, and I had to collect my pieces. I had to change my life completely. Like, there is the very awkward way to do it, like I did it, right? Very awkward, extremely awkward, right? But I fall down after 6 months, right? Because I didn't have the support. I didn't know any vegan at the time. And I was trying to be something like I thought it was going to kill me, right? Um, and the easiest way to do it is to start implementing small changes so you can actually digest the process of changing yourself,
Right.
becoming who you want to become. I will talk about myself because it's easier. I don't want to blame anyone else. I will blame myself. When I did that switch like that, um, I became extremely angry with everyone. I couldn't socialize with my family anymore. I couldn't sit at the same table with them because for me it was ethical at the time, right? It was like, for the animals, I can't believe you're eating animals, but I've told you, you know, blah, 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 right? So I was coming from an aggressive point of view. Now
Yeah.
I understand. We have a saying in Greek that says, you know, all the paths they lead to Rome, to the same way, the same destination, right? Which I highly believe. I highly believe. And that's why I don't have a problem. And maybe I even like it more sometimes to work with people that are not vegan because I know that they can become vegan. It's only part of their evolution to become a better uh, version of themselves. I really believe that. Um, and I've seen extreme transformations without me saying a word, right? Not a word. Uh, so yeah, when you take it step by step, it becomes easier because you build your confidence up. You realize you can actually do this. Suddenly you are hydrating more. You're not eating sugar, right? You are reducing. You are able to control your impulses in every other areas of your lives. And this is the most important part because the same tools and techniques that I just described to you, you can take them and use them in all the areas of your life. And this is the beautiful part because you can use a rule on the way you communicate with others. When I will never again raise my voice again. And if I raise my voice again, I will always apologize, for example, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you create a rule, simple, easy to implement rule. And then you do something that it is the most important thing. Even though we understand that our lizard brain doesn't have a face or a voice or anything, right? We start separating it. So if you want to call it a pig, call it a pig. If you want to call it the lower self, call it the lower self. If you want to call it the rapid dog or whatever, or the food demon or whatever you want to call it, call it. But you have to actually give it a identity so you can separate from it. So every time you have a craving that says you should eat animal products, for example, if you want to go vegan, you say, that's not me. That's my lower self. That's my pig. That's my food demon. And basically, it will come to you at first as, I want to eat whatever, right? Animal products. And then you make the transit. The most important part is this, to say, no, I do not eat once, eat, right? So basically, if you want to write it down, it will say, the first time you write it down, it will say like, I want to eat animal products, right? Or sugar, or whatever, flour, or alcohol, or anything. And you translate it into, you want to eat that. So basically, it is talking to you. And that's way simpler for you to separate because when someone else is talking to you and you know that he eats it specifically, doesn't want your good, doesn't want you to thrive, it's much easier for you to separate. So we do that. We practice dialogue, right? And
Yep.
don't do it out loud. Don't do it out loud. You don't have to go to whatever, to institution or anything, but try to make the separation like that, and it makes it so much easier. Now, the third part of the system is basically, even though you aim at the bullseye, right? You aim at the bullseye every single time. Imagine yourself as an archer that's trying to learn how to become an amazing archer, right? So it has a target, the bullseye, and we are aiming as an archer, right, in the bullseye all the time. So at the beginning, you're gonna miss, and you're gonna fall, and you're gonna break your rule. Now, it's important here to understand that no matter what, you have to forgive yourself with dignity and recommit with perfection. What most people, the natural instinct here is to, oh, I broke my rule. I binged, so I might as well destroy everything because who knows when I'm going to have the chance again, right? So instead of a bite of pizza, it starts as a bite of pizza, we end up with the whole box, right? So you stop it, you say, no, that's fine. I did a mistake. I forgive myself with dignity and recommit with perfection. And you jump on board. And like as the archer with focus and aim at the bullseye again, right? And he wouldn't say, "Oh, I lost it. I missed the target, so I might as well shoot at the audience," right? Or you are eating with a spoon or a fork or whatever, and you chip a tooth accidentally. You're not gonna get the hammer and bang the whole of the rest of them out, right? It's exactly the same behavior. So when you make a mistake on food, you don't have to continue the mistake. You can stop it immediately, right? And recommit and forgive yourself. So yeah, these are the three most important parts of the system. And of course, there's so much more to it, but that's the gist of it. If you have any questions on that, if anyone else has.
That was great. I really enjoyed everything you were saying there. That was so many things were coming together in my head, and like I've got ways that I've looked at this whole thing, and this is kind of coming together. It's really cool. What I would like to ask you though, are there specific people, like I've always felt like there are some people that drink alcohol and they have some people can't drink alcohol. Some people have a glass, that's enough. Some people have a couple of glasses, but some people become alcoholics. And what's the difference? Is it a difference there, or is it just that some people have learned to control themselves more? Is there a chemical difference? Is there a genetic difference? Anything like that?
Without wanting to go a lot into this, because that's not my area of expertise, right? And the main
Okay.
difference from binge eaters is that alcoholics, they don't risk and they don't damage only themselves, right? So, but it's much easier for someone to say that, oh, he is an alcoholic, so he has a disease, right? He's a compulsive overeater. He has a disease. He cannot control it. I don't believe that, right?
Right.
Evidence doesn't suggest that, right? We can actually control it. And yes, it's a muscle. So the more you exercise it, the easier it's going to be for you to control it. But you can start by saying, I'm not going to eat 20 slices of pizza today. If that's your number, that's your number, right? And you go 19 and you go 18. The same with alcohol, in my opinion. But there is an amazing guy. I don't remember his name. If anyone's interested about alcoholism, there is a guy who has a system that I highly recommend instead of Never Binge Again, because when we're talking about alcoholism, it's a little bit more, it's a different thing. Like with food, you have a beast that you have to let out of the cage 3 times a day, right? Alcoholism doesn't have to be there. You're not gonna die if you don't drink. So it's a different approach if you want. So yeah, I would say, based off my experience, and yes, I've worked with people who they want to limit their consumption of alcohol, not because if it's a massive problem, but as a food rule. If it's a problem, then I highly suggest going to a more advanced professional who's focusing exactly on that. I don't remember, like, we have an amazing one that we actually suggest forward people towards, but I don't remember his name. I apologize. If anyone is interested, I will research it for you, and I'm available if you want to direct you there. So
That's very
that's
cool.
my suggestion.
Sure. If anyone's got any questions, you can leave them in the chat below. So how does so what, from my summary of what you're talking about, one of the things that really appealed to me, you talked about having rules and creating basically almost a new persona, and then the part of you that's trying to lead you down to these behaviors that you don't like, you kind of term that as a different part of yourself. The pig you were talking about and stuff like that. And yeah, and creating these rules and then integrating it basically into your personality. And it seems like what you're saying as well is taking it step by step rather than overnight. Um, is it a limit to how much you can change yourself overnight? You know, like it just works better doing it one piece at a time? Because I think you mentioned the comfort zone, which is really interesting. Like once it becomes your comfort zone, then it's sort of easy to keep on
All right.
doing.
So, yeah, to answer your question, then I will give you an example because I had a client, all right, that she came to me. She was extremely motivated. Basically, the doctor came to her and says, "Okay, you have Hashimoto. You lost your period 2 months ago, and you have a lot of excess weight, and you have a fatty liver, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you are pro-diabetic as well, pre-diabetic, yeah, diabetic. So she got all the blood exams, has all the medical records to support that, and she did something that I don't recommend for everyone, but she said basically, I'm going she was vegan already, but she was a junk food vegan, right? And she went from junk food vegan into including a lot of smoothies, salads, a lot of towards the raw, a lot like raw vegan, like most of it was raw vegan. And she wasn't perfect at it, right? But instead of one rule, she added one rule that she didn't break, was like no sugar. Then she said no oil. And basically she implemented a lot of raw foods in her diet. Now, gone from junk food vegan into that, 1 month later, she took blood exams again, right? The results came back. She doesn't have fatty liver anymore. And we're talking about the numbers went down to 20% of what it was. We're not talking about a slight difference. We're talking
Yeah.
about crazy numbers change. And I have everything to support that, by the way. She also gave me testimonial that I can show you. So her period came back, right? No fatty liver anymore. She's not diabetic, pre-diabetic anymore. She's like normal. Everything's normal. And she lost the first month because her body was adjusting and everything. She lost 2 kilos. The second month, she lost 3 kilos, which is like 5
Oh,
and whatever, 8 pounds or whatever. So she's continuing, right? She's continuing. But the first month she had this change, but she did like something radical, right?
yeah.
Because to reply to your question, she had the motivation to do that. And she didn't fail once. However, most people out there, they don't have so much of a motivation, right?
Uh-huh.
They say, okay, you know what? I am fat and I don't really feel my best and I want to do that. Fantastic. Let's start with one simple rule. And they do all the exercise and they start with that. 2 weeks later, 1 week later, they say, you know what, that's easy now because I've mastered kind of all the systems and the skills that I had to develop and the techniques, because it's a skill, right? It has several progressions. And then they say, okay, can I put a second rule? Yeah, of course you can. So they put a second rule, and then they might fall down and they get up and they learn that the most important thing the most important skill, in my opinion, for someone to master is the recovery, because recovery becomes from when you don't know the system, a couple of months, 2 weeks, right? When you know the system, you shorten that like 100 times. And eventually recovery, after you do the process frequently enough, you enough times, or you actually put your whole into it, right? It becomes so advanced that you recover before you even break your rule. So basically, it's me, right? I'm vegan and I'm whatever. I put flour out of my diet, right? And I say I will never eat flour again. And I'm looking at the flour and I'm like, my piece of pizza, and I'm like, wow, the smell is amazing, right? And it looks really tasty. And the lizard brain is doing circles here. And I'm like, yeah, but do you remember last time you ate pizza, how you couldn't sleep at night and how you basically were stuck in the toilet for 3 days and your skin blew up with acne and all this stuff. So basically you start doing the connections and you do the recovery before it actually happens. And you say, oh, okay, done. And
Right.
you dismiss it. It's not even, it doesn't drain you.
Yep.
You dismiss it. It's irrelevant. So that's the beauty of it. Like you grow to the point that it becomes irrelevant. You can still hear your urge, right? That's your
Yeah.
responsibility to translate it into words, because you basically feel your urge as an emotion, as a impulse, or something that you have to translate into words that you can intellectualize, so you can
Yeah.
actually, expose the lie in that.
Well, all I want to say, man, is I've loved every minute of this talk you've given. I've been enjoying the whole thing. I'd love to talk to you more about this. I'm sure we'll get a chance to do that again. I'd love to do that.
Beautiful.
But we have 10 minutes at the moment. Something we've not mentioned at all is the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, which is something that we've both contributed books to, programs. I think yours is the Easy uh, Meal Prep
Raw
Guide.
vegan weight loss meal prep accelerator course.
And I imagine in what you're doing, meal prep's quite powerful for people, because if they've already prepared things in advance and stuff, and or is that what it's about, preparing food, or is it about actually the skills of preparing food? Or
So basically, because I went to see Joe Woolley and to Woodstock and all these festivals, I was teaching as kitchen skills and preparation. I was teaching this kind of stuff, and I saw a lot of people loved it, right? And because I've been doing it for 14 years now, it's very easy for me to simplify it and say, hey, you don't have to chop your fingers like I did, right? So many times. Use this technique instead of all these 15 ones, right? When you cut vegetables, do this, not this, right? You safety in the kitchen, how you make sure you are safe, your preparation, how you set up your space, how to use equipment, all this beautiful stuff. So I created a course on just that, because I wanted to contribute in the battle as well. And I was super excited about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And the course that I created is basically open. So basically, anyone who joins and sees the course and says, you know what, yeah, but I'm not sure how to make ice cream, right? Then you join also a Facebook group, or you send me a DM, say, hey, can you elaborate on this? Or how can you show me a little bit, because I couldn't really understand where you mentioned this part. Can you elaborate on that? Then I want to create, I want to add on this course until it's so complete that I can take an absolute beginner that doesn't know how to hold a knife, how to, what is a knife, right? And turn him into a person who is extremely comfortable around food preparation, produce, meal prepping, and all this beautiful stuff, because we have all these amazing recipes, right? And I think that was very valuable for someone to see all this information and to practice it, which you can fast forward your development and your progress in the kitchen so much when you know a few basic stuffs, basically. So yeah, that's the gist of it.
amazing. That sounds great. I've not actually checked out your meal prep course yet, but that sounds excellent.
I think you were in Sidro, right? So you might have seen it. I'm not sure. I'm
No,
not
I've
sure
never
if I.
I've never been there.
Ah.
No, but I remember.
Ah. Now
I
with
rem
COVID, I don't know when we're gonna be able to.
Yeah, I remember. I'm just remembering us trying to get into the US and having a bit of a difficult moment trying to get in.
You mentioned that in a very very gentle way. We didn't try. We didn't went from the Canada to US. We didn't do that. We changed continents. You remember where we were? We were completely west, up of Seattle, north of Seattle, right in
Right,
Canada,
right.
Kelowna, and we went to New York Woodstock Fruit Festival in 2.5 days.
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
wasn't like driving from Canada to US. That was that's a border, right?
Yeah,
We did
but
4,500 kilometers, I think, or miles,
yeah,
or how many?
yeah.
It was a crazy amount.
But they were
So it was
questioning.
interesting.
It was funny because I think they were questioning you at the border because they thought you were maybe trying to work at that festival or whatever it was. And
Basically, what they saw was that because I had a flight ticket, right, and you told me with Steve that you wanted to go to drive there. And I said, you're never gonna make it. The festival started in 2 days. Are you crazy? So I'm gonna come with you. You remember? So basically we drove 24/7. You know, one was sleeping in the back, and we switched. We stopped in every Walmart. It was crazy. It was amazing. Thank you for that. And you were playing with the guitar, entertaining us.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was kind of boring as well. Like the road was really much more boring than I thought. Like it was just straight,
I felt I
you
was in the
know.
road for, I don't know, 2 months when we're done. I was like, what happened?
Yeah. So yeah, everyone, Higher Self Manifesto if you want to check out Konstantinos on Instagram. And are you anywhere else? Your Facebook or YouTube
Yeah,
or?
Kostantinos Kotsonis is my Facebook. Higher Self Manifesto Community is the group I have on Facebook. So yeah, let me quickly write in the chat.
And if you're interested in the bundle, you can go to either of our profiles on Instagram or maybe your Facebook as well. And you can, if you want to put your link for that below as well, Konstantinos, or the fruitfest.co.uk/bundle. And the bundle's only available till tomorrow, so it's going to end tomorrow. So you want to go and have a look at that. And it's basically $1,600 worth of ebooks, courses, programs from over 50 creators, authors, influencers in the raw vegan scene, raw vegan movement, bringing together this collection of material for one time. It's the equivalent of £35 UK for or $49 US. So it's very valuable, and the information in it's very long-lasting information that you'll be able to use for life. So very cool stuff. Well, any last kind of words of wisdom? Can people work with you if they want to work with you, or how does it work?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just DM me and we'll take it from there. I will make sure we are, you know, ideal for each other before we start working. And yeah, we'll see your goals, when you want to go, where you want to go, and if it's a good match, we're going to work together.
Oh, well, thank you very much for joining us today, Kostantinos, and let's do this again. I got a lot out of that, so thanks a lot.
That was lovely. That was lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And it was a pleasure.
Okay, cool. So what will happen?